Hi, my name is Angel Jimenez and I'm taking SDI FTH 223-53109. This is our hammered fire pistol, week 3 assignment. Today's September 1st, 2024, Labor Day weekend. And my instructor is Dr. D or Captain D. I have some notes here and I'm going to verify the course right here. Next, I'm going to show that the firearm that I'm going to be using is the CZ75 Bravo, and I'm going to show that it's empty. I'm going to drop the mag or the feeding source, empty. I'm going to physically and visually inspect the chamber to verify that there is no ammunition, and the mag is empty, the mag well. I have some dummy rounds in this Ziploc bag for later testing. So part one, we have to go over dry firing, firing with dummy rounds, function check with and without the dummy ammo, and evaluate the cycles of operations. So first, I'm gonna release the slide, insert the magazine, pull the trigger, the hammer falls. I'm going to release the trigger so I can reset it. It locks. I use the slide release to release the slide. I'm going to put the safety on, pull the trigger, the hammer doesn't fall. Alright, I'm going to release the safety and it fires. While keeping my finger on the trigger to press to the rear, I'm going to cycle the, I'm going to just remove the mag source. Alright, double action works. I'm keeping the trigger to the rear, cycling the slide to the rear, letting it go forward, and I'm going to listen for the reset. There you go. It's reset. I'm going to pull the trigger. It fires. I'm going to reset it once again. Put the safety. After it, let's see if I can pull the trigger. Safety is not allowing the trigger to be pulled again. There it goes. So I installed 3 dummy rounds in the magazine. I'm going to take the firearm, load the magazine. I'm going to pull the slide to the rear, allowing for it to unlock, come to the rear, and then as I let it go forward, it's going to chamber around and then relock it in the forward position. So there we go. Let it now. So I wanted to check. There's a round in the chamber. Pull the trigger. Then I'm gonna reset it while I'm holding the trigger to the rear. And eject it. And now it just chambered another round. Reset. Fire. Ejected around, and this is going to be the last one. Reset, trigger pull, and should lock on the last round, and it's locked to the rear. So it's still empty. No ammo. No ammo on my workbench as well. So I tested out the safety with it cocked. Doesn't fire. I'm gonna pull the trigger while I'm holding. I'm gonna let go of the trigger, and I'm gonna ride into that. It's almost like a half cock. Safety doesn't go. All right. Right, we're gonna fill strip the firearm and identify the sub-assemblies. So I'm gonna line up my lines or your dots depending on which firearm you have. And it's really stiff, so I'm gonna use my hammer to push it out a little bit. So I got that part up, the slide lock. And then I'm gonna pull in the trigger, ride the slide, slowly removing it from the frame. So this is at a filled stripped. So I'm gonna remove the recoil spring and the guide rod, the barrel. Here's your slide, and here's your frame, and my magazine emptied. So I'm going to talk about the sub-assemblies. Here's the slide, and there's a plunger there for the firing pin disconnect. My guide rod and spring. And if this barrel had multiple pieces or pivoting locking lug, like on your 1911s, then this would be considered another sub-assembly, but we're going to just talk about it as well. Okay. Perform a sub-assembly for part 3, function check, and articulate what you are looking for. Determine if the sub-assemblies are performing as expected. So, taking my slide and taking my barrel, inserting the barrel in the slide, and seating it, locking it with the lugs, it shows that it locks and is functioning correctly. If there was any deformity to the barrel, it wouldn't allow it to lock into its position. It would stay open, and you would see a gap like that. Your frame, looking at your safety, trigger works. I'm going to insert a magazine, empty. Okay, I cock the hammer to the rear. I put my safety and pull the trigger. It doesn't work. Safety off. Trigger is allowing to be depressed and the hammer to be moved forward. Checking my mag release, and it works, and it's locking it, and when depressed it releases. Checking that everything is functioning inside. When the trigger pulls, it moves the hammer. If I put it in a half cock, and safety doesn't go on, and the sear just barely drops a little bit. So part 4, perform a detailed strip of your firearm and reverse engineer the components listed below, following the guidance in this module's lecture material. Provide your instructor with video evidence of your dimensional drawings with all the applicable measurements. So we're going to measure the recoil spring guide, the injector, and the firing pin. We'll have a drawing with some measurements. And I'm going to come back after I disassemble, and I'll bring all that to you. So I have it fully disassembled. I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see each and every part. And this is my first time disassembling this to this stage. So here are my measurements. This is the the recoil spring rod, as it says right there. So from top to bottom was 6.41 millimeters. Total length from the back of this rounded off part to the front was 44.67 millimeters, and from the little notch on the back all the way forward is 45.56 millimeters, and then the total distance from this top edge to the bottom edge is 9.97 millimeters. Next is the ejector. So I measured the hole. The diameter was 1.83 millimeters. The thickness of this rounded portion was 8.52 millimeters. The distance from the bottom edge to this top shelf was 2.85 millimeters. Total length was 24.20 millimeters. The thickness was 3.38 millimeters. And then this section here was 1.28 millimeters. And then this measurement for this section was 3.33 millimeters. And then 8.52 total from this edge to the back of this edge of this curve. The next one is the firing pin. The thickness of the diameter of the forward section of the firing pin was 1.96 millimeters. Then it steps up to 3.67 thickness, and then this next section is 5.35 millimeters. Then it drops down, so total thickness is 3.50 millimeters. Steps up 5.15 millimeters. Then it steps down again to 3.95, and then it has a little shelf, and then the thickness is 1.87. Total distance from the rear to the forward of the firing pin is 61.93 millimeters. This section from this edge to that edge is 3.41 millimeters. From here to here is 9.67, and from here to here was 3.95, and then the thickness of this rounded off aft section was 4.98. The next step will be to reassemble. I'll bring you back once it's reassembled. Alright, so for my last part, the firearm is put back together. I'm going to lock it to the rear. I'm going to re-inspect physically, and I'm doing a visual check of the chamber that it's empty. The magazine well is empty, and I have dummy rounds in my magazine. No live ammo on my workstation. So I'm gonna release the slide, pull the trigger, lock it to the rear, single action, pull the trigger, keep it pulled to the rear, reset. It clicks on the reset, fires, double action, reset. All right, cock it, safety's on, does it fire, safety off, insert a mag, failure. All right, that was the last round. For my reference points, I utilized the lecture, YouTube, the manual for the schematics on the breakdown, and took a little bit longer than I expected to disassemble this fully, the detailed one. So I would have to start practicing a little bit more. Putting it back together was a little bit easier than I expected. I thought it was going to be a lot harder, since this is the first time I'm disassembling this as a detailed one. I would have to practice and get a better feel of disassembling, and then coming up with some slave pins for when we're putting the spring back on the trigger. That one took me a little while, and then found a tip on YouTube to utilize this spring, this pin that's in here as a slave pin to hold the spring inside the trigger. So when I inserted the trigger into the frame, it was just push the pin through, and it pushed the slave pin out. So that's a good tip that I got to learn. All right, thank you and have a great day. Bye.